Your biggest enemy is your uncontrolled mind. You know how crazy it is. We prepare for war with the outside world, right? We get strong for critics. We toughen up for haters. We build up for failure. But we forget the one battlefield that matters most. It's not out there. It's right here, inside your mind. That thing between your ears, if left unchecked, will lie to you, break you, buckle you, and bury you before the world even gets a chance. See, most people don't lose to life. They lose to their own thoughts. You could have everything going for you. Talent, looks, skill, resources. But if your mind is wild and indisciplined, none of that matters. You'll self-sabotage your success. You'll turn minor problems into mountains. You'll find excuses before you find solutions. And here's the cold truth: your biggest enemy is your uncontrolled mind. That voice in your head, the one that whispers you're not enough, that's not truth. That's fear. That's ego. That's drama dressed up as logic. But if you don't learn how to check it, confront it, train it, it'll run your life like a tyrant. It'll talk you out of greatness, out of peace, out of love. It'll keep you surviving when you were born to thrive. When I was young, I used to think discipline was something you do with your body, like lifting weights or running sprints. But no, discipline is mental muscle. And if you don't work it, the mind does what it always does: it drifts. It panics. It invents problems. Left alone, your mind becomes a master manipulator. Think about it. How many times have you had a perfectly good day? Then one small thing happens and boom, you're in a spiral. You start thinking about everything that ever went wrong. You start predicting doom in the future. You rehearse arguments you never had. It's not the world doing that to you. It's you doing it to you. That's the danger of an untrained mind. I want you to pause for a second and think, when was the last time you were present, like fully here? And no distractions, no internal chaos. See that? Most people can't even name a moment. And yet we wonder why we feel exhausted. It's not your body that's tired. It's your mind. Overanalyzing. And what you don't manage will manage you. That's why this message is so important. Because today we're not just talking motivation. We're talking liberation, mental freedom, emotional power, soul level control. And once you learn how to calm the mind, command the emotions, and stop reacting to every little thing, that's when the real power starts. But it's a process and not a switch. You don't just flip a thought and boom, you're a Buddha. It's like going to the gym. You train. You fall. You get back up. You repeat. Because the battle isn't one fight. It's daily. That's why this video exists. To hand you something practical. Real tools. Daily truths. If you stay with me, I promise this will be different. We're not here to hype you up. We're here to wake you up. So let's go deeper, because what you're about to learn could change how you think forever. All right, let's get honest for a second. If you've ever caught yourself thinking, I can't help it, that's just how I am. Stop right there. That's your uncontrolled mind talking. That's not the truth. That's a story your brain has told itself so many times that now it feels like fact. But it's not. It's just repetition, and what gets repeated gets believed. Let me tell you something I learned it the hard way. You can't grow while defending your limitations. You can't level up if you keep protecting the version of yourself that's holding you back. That's why self-improvement is not just about reading books or posting quotes online. It's about stepping into the fire of your own BS and saying enough is enough. When I say your biggest enemy is your uncontrolled mind, I'm talking about the mental loops we let play on repeat. The fear loops, the doubt loops, the anxiety loops. That constant overthinking that turns a single thought into a whole imaginary disaster. You feel me? It's like this: you have the choices in every moment. You can be the master of your mind or a slave to it. There is no in between. Now I know some of y'all been through stuff. Life hasn't been fair. People have betrayed you. The system's been stacked against you. And I get that. I really do. But here's the painful truth I had to swallow: the world doesn't tell you healing. You owe that to yourself. And until you decide to own your thoughts, they will own you. See, your mind is like a garden. If you don't plant purposefully, weeds will grow automatically. And those weeds, they look like jealousy. They look like anger. They look like procrastination disguised as perfectionism. They look like that quiet voice telling you you're not ready, or what if you fail, or what if they laugh at you. That ain't wisdom. That ain't caution. That's sabotage. And the enemy isn't out there, it's in here. I used to think success came down to how hard you grind. But what I've learned, grinding without clarity is just wearing yourself out in circles. You've got to clear the mental fog first. That's what emotional intelligence is really about. It's not being soft, it's being smart. It's the ability to pause in the middle of chaos, to ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? And is that story even real? Let me break it down real simple. Motivational speech won't change you unless you shift how you think. Because everything flows from the mind: your habits, your relationships, your reactions, your energy. If the mind is cluttered, your life will be cluttered. If the mind is clear, your path becomes powerful. But clearing the mind isn't about emptying it like a monk on a mountain. It's about observing it like a coach in a game. You gotta watch your thoughts like tape after a bad play. Ask, where did I overreact? Where did fear jump in before faith even had a chance? Where am I letting the past dictate today? Because a lot of us are not even living our real lives. We're living our traumas. We're living our insecurities. We're living what our 8-year-old self interpreted during a bad moment. And that's why positive thinking ain't just a feel-good slogan. It's a survival tool. It's training your mind to stop defaulting to doom. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing a better reality, one that leads to peace, power, presence. Now let me ask you something, and don't rush this. When you get triggered, do you react or do you reflect? When someone offends you, do you explode or do you explore what it touched in you? That's emotional intelligence, man. That's self-mastery. And that's what separates those who respond from those who regret. Some people spend years building a perfect image and then destroy it in 10 seconds because they never learned how to control a single emotion. That's how powerful your mind is. And that's how dangerous it becomes when it's not disciplined. This ain't about pretending you're always calm. This is about learning how to pull your power back. When life tests you, and it will, you have to decide, do I give my peace away or do I guard it like bull? Because here's the truth: you become what you tolerate in your mind. If you tolerate self-doubt, you become indecisive. If you tolerate chaos, you become reactive. If you tolerate bitterness, you become cold. But if you choose self-respect, discipline, and grace, you become a weapon of peace in a world of confusion. And that starts right here every day with you versus your own mind. So ask yourself again, who's really in control? Let me paint you a picture. You wake up late, your phone's already buzzing. Your mind's racing with everything you didn't finish yesterday. You scroll for just 5 minutes, that turns into 20. Now you're anxious, behind schedule, frustrated, and it's not even 9 up. And you didn't choose peace. You didn't choose power. You reacted. And this right here is where most people live on autopilot, letting their mind run wild like a child with scissors. And let me be real, I was that person too. I used to believe being busy meant I was on the path, that stress was proof I was grinding. But truth is, I was stuck. Because here's what I learned the hard way: a noisy mind makes poor decisions. And the worst part, you don't even realize it. You start convincing yourself that chaos is normal. That tension is part of success, but it's not. That's a lie fed to us by a culture addicted to performance, not purpose. You want self-improvement? Start by confronting the most dangerous force in your life, your uncontrolled mind. That's your biggest enemy. Not your boss, not your past, not your bank account. The enemy is the voice inside your head that whispers, "Why even try? You're too late. You're not good enough." Let's talk about patterns for a second, because your life doesn't change with inspiration alone. It changes when your patterns change. And your patterns, they come from your thoughts. If your thinking is toxic, your life will always find a way to reflect that. Now, I know some people who had less talent than me, less opportunity, less resources, and they're doing bigger things. Why? Because they had discipline. They trained their minds like a soldier sharpens his blade. They didn't let their emotions run the show. They didn't let a bad morning become a wasted day. That's emotional intelligence. That's mastering the art of managing yourself before you try to manage success. And you know what? We often look at great leaders, world changers, innovators, and assume they had some kind of cheat code. But what most people don't see is the invisible, where they had to win inside their own mind. I'm talking about that everyday fight to stay consistent when no one is clapping. That inner battle between discipline and temptation. That war between long-term goals and short-term relief. You think top performers got there by accident? No, they earned it by doing what most won't. They chose structure over chaos. They chose growth over ego. They learned how to pause when their emotions screamed for attention. Let me give you a real example. There's this guy I know grew up in poverty, dropped out of school, nobody expected anything from him. But he made a decision: I'm going to take control of my mind before the world does. And every morning he meditated. Not for likes, not for clout, just to create space between his thoughts and his identity. 10 years later, he's mentoring young men in his community, running businesses, speaking across the country. Not because life gave him a gift, but because he trained his mind like a muscle. He refused to let past pain become his personality. That's the difference right there. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because their mind talks them out of even starting. They fail because they've never been taught to sit still and listen not to the world, but to themselves. Positive thinking is not delusion. It's direction. It's telling your mind where to go instead of letting it drag you through old wounds and imagined problems. That's what makes it powerful. It doesn't mean everything's perfect. It means you stay grounded even when things aren't. Let me tell you something powerful I learned after years of trial and error. Peace is not found. It's created. And you create peace by mastering your reactions. You create clarity by mastering your focus. You create transformation by mastering your thoughts. Every time you choose stillness over stress, reflection over reaction, responsibility over blame, you win a small war inside yourself. And those small wins, they add up to a life you can be proud of. And now listen, I'm not saying this is easy, but it's simple. Hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. Choose to think on purpose. Choose to speak with intention. Choose to act from strength, not fear. The real flex isn't how fast you can move, it's how calm you can stay when everything else gets loud. That's what separates those who live on purpose from those who drift through life blaming everyone else. Because at the end of the day, it's not what happens to you that defines you. It's what you do with what happens that shapes your story. You know what nobody talks about? That self-improvement isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it's just waking up and realizing that your thoughts have been lying to you. Not because you're broken, but because your mind isn't ring. You see, your biggest enemy is your uncontrolled mind, and the only way to beat it is to face it. Face the voice that tells you to give up. Face the thoughts that repeat, "You'll never change." Face the habits that feel safe but keep you small. I had to learn this the hard way. At one point in my life, I had everything people thought was success movies, money, fame. But I didn't feel peace. I didn't feel grounded. I felt like I was being chased by my own mind. And no matter how fast I ran, it was always there. Until I stopped running. And when I stopped, I saw the truth. That nothing outside of me could fix what I refused to deal with inside me. I realized I wasn't reacting to life, I was reacting to my interpretation of life. That was the real trap. See, your mind is like a screen, and every thought you have is a filter. If your filter is fear, then everything looks dangerous. If your filter is doubt, then every opportunity looks like a risk. But if your filter is emotional intelligence, suddenly you begin to respond with wisdom instead of panic. You pause. You breathe. You choose your reaction instead of surrendering to it. That's where power lies, in the space between the trigger and your reaction. Most people never find that space. They live on autopilot. They say things like, "That's just how I am." But no, that's not who you are. That's who your untrained mind taught you to be. And there's a big difference. Now let me give you something practical, something real. You want to start mastering your mind. Start with awareness. Every time you feel overwhelmed, frustrated, insecure, ask yourself, is this a fact or just a feeling? 9 times out of 10, what's stressing you out isn't even real, it's just a story your mind created. A what if? A fear, a memory playing on repeat. And if you can identify the story, you can change the ending. You don't need a 10-step program to start shifting. You need one thing: consistent awareness. That's the foundation of every mindset breakthrough. Catch the thought. Question the thought. Replace the thought. Not once, over and over, until your mind learns the new pattern. Think of your brain like a wild garden. If you don't plant intention, weeds of fear and negativity grow by default. So plant gratitude, plant discipline, plant vision. Not just in the morning when you're motivated, but when you're tired, irritated, or feel like nothing's working. That's what makes change real. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've mastered it all. I still get triggered. I still catch myself slipping into old patterns. But the difference now is I notice it, and in that noticing, I reclaim power. Let me tell you something else: positive thinking doesn't mean ignoring the problem. It means refusing to let the problem own you. It means saying, yeah, this is hard, but I've handled hard before. It means training your mind to spot what's good even when everything feels bad. I know someone, a woman who lost everything in a fire. House, memories, all of it gone. But when I spoke with her, she said something I'll never forget. I didn't lose my peace. That was mine to keep. That's not denial. That's mental strength. That's what happens when your mind works for you instead of against you. And here's the truth: this isn't about becoming some perfect version of yourself. This is about building a relationship with your own mind, checking in, listening, redirecting. You can't lead your life if you don't first lead your thoughts. You want daily motivation that sticks? Stop chasing new ideas and start applying the ones you already know. Rest, practice more, be less entertained, be more intentional. Every morning, before the world grabs your attention, take it back. Pray, journal, meditate, Set the tone before life sets it for you. Don't just let your day happen. Command it. Even 5 minutes of stillness can shift your entire direction. You've got dreams, big ones, but until your mind gets in alignment, those dreams will feel like burdens instead of blessing. Your goals aren't too big, your mindset is too small. But the good news is you can change that. Today, right now, one decision, one thought, one breath at a time. Let me tell you something real. Most people don't realize how much power their past holds over their present. Your mind is not just a battlefield of thoughts. It's a prison of memories and habits you didn't even choose. We carry invisible chains made of regret, guilt, and old beliefs that whisper, "You can't." But here's the truth. Your past doesn't define you unless you let it. You are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not the echo of harsh words spoken long ago. Your biggest enemy is your uncontrolled mind because it replays those stories like they are facts. But facts are just memories stored in your brain. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a memory and a current event. If you keep replaying the pain, your mind lives in yesterday and your life stalls today. So if you want to break free, you must rewrite the narrative you tell yourself. I remember a time when I was stuck in that cycle. I had hurt people. I had burned bridges. I thought my past mistakes were scars I had to carry forever. But the moment I started changing the story, changing how I spoke to myself, everything shifted. Instead of saying, "I'm broken," I began saying, "I'm learning." Instead of "I'm not enough," I said, "I'm growing." And with those words, my mind stopped being my enemy and became my greatest ally. Here's something else. Your mind craves meaning. When you're lost in negative thoughts, it's because you don't understand the why behind your pain. You need to find meaning in your struggle, or your mind will keep dragging you down. This is where emotional intelligence plays its most powerful role. It helps you sit with your feelings, name them, and understand their message. Anger, sadness, fear, they are not enemies, they're messengers. I want you to try this the next time a negative thought hits. Don't push it away. Ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? You might find it's a sign that you need to set a boundary, ask for help, or take a break. When you listen to your emotions instead of fighting them, you regain control over your mind's chaos. This is self-improvement in its purest form, learning to live in harmony with yourself. Now, to get deeper into this, let's talk about discipline, the unsung hero of motivation. You've heard people say discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. But discipline isn't just about strict routines or pushing through pain. It's about choosing what your mind focuses on every single day. It's about deciding that your thoughts will serve your dreams, not sabotage them. Discipline is the daily practice of catching your mind when it tries to wander into doubt, distraction, or fear. It's the muscle you build through repeated choices. Think about a king or queen ruling their kingdom. They don't let chaos reign. They set laws, make decisions, and guide their people toward prosperity. Your mind is that kingdom, and you are the ruler. If you don't set the rules, your uncontrolled mind will create its own, and those rules will not favor you. You might wonder, how do I build that discipline when my mind is so wild? Start small. Begin with one habit-tame morning moment of stillness, a daily affirmation, or a quick journal entry to track your thoughts. These small actions create ripples of change that grow into tidal waves. This is where daily motivation really matters, showing up for yourself consistently, even when you don't feel like it. That's how you make your mind your greatest teammate. I want you to remember this. No one escapes mental battles. Even the most successful people wrestle with doubt and fear. What separates them is how they manage their mind when the storms come. They don't ignore the chaos, They face it with emotional intelligence and a growth mindset. They don't run from the shadows, they bring light to their thoughts. They don't give their power away, they take it back, one thought at a time. And here's a story for you, one of a man who lost everything and rebuilt his life from the ground up. He had no fame, no money, no connections. Just a mind filled with hope and a heart unwilling to quit. Day after day, he chose to focus on possibilities instead of problems. He replaced the voice of doubt with affirmations of faith. And slowly but surely, he transformed his reality. This isn't just motivation, this is proof that when you control your mind, you control your destiny. Remember, your biggest enemy is your uncontrolled mind, but it doesn't have to stay that way. You can retrain your thoughts like a skill. You can replace destructive patterns with empowering ones. You can become the person who responds to life with clarity, strength, and positivity. This is the power of self-awareness and emotional mastery. Before we move forward, hold on to this: motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire. Without one, the other can't sustain your journey. Use your emotional intelligence to fan those flames. Listen to your mind like you would a friend, sometimes firm, sometimes gentle. And keep pushing forward, because the freedom you seek lives on the other side of mental control. So now we've come this far together, and you still feel that tug, don't you? That quiet whisper inside your head asking, can I really do this? Can I really take back control of my mind? Let me look you in the eye right now. Yes, you can. And you must, because your biggest enemy is your uncontrolled mind. And if you don't confront it, if you don't challenge it, then no one else will. No mentor, no relationship, no paycheck, no success will ever silence the chaos you haven't dealt with on the inside. This is your final battle. Not against the world, not against your past, against the inner voice that keeps you small, afraid, reactive, and unfocused. See, most people aren't defeated by others, they're defeated by their own thoughts. And the scariest part, they don't even realize it. They wake up every day and just respond to whatever their mind throws at them. Stress, anger, impulse, jealousy, as if that's just who they are. But it's not who you are, it's just what your mind learned. And if it can learn pain, it can also learn peace. If it can learn fear, it can be trained in faith. If it can learn helplessness, it can be taught power. You want power? Let me give you something real. It begins the moment you stop reacting and start observing. That's right. Stop reacting. Start watching. Your mind is a wild river, and most people are drowning in it. You need to become the observer standing on the shore. Watch your thoughts pass like clouds in the sky, like traffic on the highway. Don't grab them. Don't follow them. Just watch. That is how you break the cycle. That is how emotional intelligence turns chaos into clarity. Now you might be thinking, but Will, it ain't that easy. And you're right. This isn't easy, but it is simple. You don't need 10 years of therapy or some magical morning routine. You need 5 seconds of courage. 5 seconds to pause before reacting. 5 seconds to say, this thought does not define me. 5 seconds to choose silence over shouting, breathing over blaming, presence over panic. That's how you start building mental strength. That's the foundation of real self-improvement. Now I need to tell you something personal. The most powerful moments of my life didn't come from awards or applause. They came from the quiet choices I made when no one was watching. When I wanted to lash out, but I chose love. When I wanted to give up, but I chose one more try. When my uncontrolled mind said you're done, and I whispered back, not yet. That's how champions are made. Not on red carpets, not on stages, but in those silent battles with yourself. That's where greatness is born. And you don't need to be a celebrity or a millionaire or a genius. You just need to decide that your life is worth mastering, that your peace is worth fighting for, that your future is more important than your fear. Let's go even deeper now. You want positive thinking? It's not about ignoring the darkness. It's about choosing to light a candle in it. It's about saying, yes, things are hard, but I'm still going to show up. It's about saying, yes, I failed, but I'm still learning. Positive thinking is not delusion. It's discipline. It's not fake optimism. It's focused energy. It's what happens when you train your mind to serve your vision instead of your doubt. Look, I know some of you are carrying heavy stuff. Maybe you're stuck in toxic cycles. Maybe you've got people around you feeding your negative mindset. Maybe your whole environment is holding you back. But listen, your mind doesn't need permission from your surroundings to evolve. Your spiritual awakening can begin in the darkest corner. Your transformation can start in the middle of chaos. You've just got to want it bad enough. Want peace more than comfort. Want growth more than validation. Want clarity more than control. And don't think you're alone in this. Look around. There are people in this world, people just like you who've walked through fire and came out shining. Not because life spared them, but because they refused to let pain win. They used prayer. They used self-awareness. They listened to daily motivation, studied emotional intelligence, and got back up every time they fell. Not superhumans, just humans who made one decision: my mind will serve me, not sabotage me. And now it's your turn. I want you to take this moment and say it out loud with me. Go ahead, say it. I am not my thoughts. I am the master of my mind. Say it again. I am not my thoughts. I am the master of my mind. That's not just a mantra. That's a declaration of war. I vow to no longer be a victim of your inner voice. That's you stepping into your strength. You have no idea how powerful you are. You have no idea how much peace is available to you. You have no idea how far you can go once you silence the lies in your head. And that's why we do this. Not just to feel good, but to become unstoppable, to be the calm in the storm, the clarity in the chaos, the light in the darkness. Your biggest enemy is your uncontrolled mind, but the moment you choose awareness, intention, and emotional intelligence, that enemy becomes your servant. And that's when the real magic begins. That's when your life becomes yours again. So don't wait. Start today. Take back your mind, reclaim your peace, and live like the warrior you were born to be. We are Wisdom Recorder. This is your knowledge source. If this message sparks something in you, subscribe, like, and join us on the journey. Your future self is already thanking you.